This is Jeffrey Keller from University of Southern California. I'm going to talk about the definition of a drug. Uh, just to give you the facts of the case is that this is a case number 28 on the assignment sheet, and it rose in 1969 when the Secretary of State, who is the applicant in this case, condemned and seized an assets in an interstate shipping of some sensitive disks. The disks were manufactured by a company called DIFCO Laboratories under the trade name of Bacto Unidisk, who is actually the respondent in the case. The case commenced in the state of Michigan and was argued all the way to the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. What was the legal implication of the case? The legal implication of the case is that how do you define sensitivity disks developed by the Bacto Unidisk to aid doctors during the screening patients and choose which antibiotic to use in treating a particular infection? Is it a drug or a device under the Act? And are they subject to pre-testing requirements adopted by the government in the late 1960s? The respondent in this case, which is the Bacto Unidisk, asserts that the disks are devices because they are used directly in the cure, mitigation, or treatment of a disease in order to qualify them as drugs under the Act, and that they are not administered to man either internally or externally, therefore do not satisfy the definition as drugs. The defendant, who is the Secretary of Health, Education and Welfare, asserts that the disks are drugs. They were therefore validly subject to pre-market regulation as prescribed in the Act. So what does the Supreme Court rule? The Supreme Court ruling was that the antibiotic sensitivity disk used by physicians to aid them in determining what antibiotic drug, if any, to give to a patient is a drug as defined in the statute, and this is section 201 G as in golf of the Act, and it's not a device as defined in section 201 part H as in hotel of the Act. Therefore, accordingly, it has to be pre-tested before marketing, and the seizure was proper until they met pre-testing requirements. What are the rulings of the case that we can learn from? Number one, it's intended use. Intended use because the discs they aid the physicians in the determination of what antibiotic to use or to cure, mitigation or treat a disease. By furnishing useful information, the disc played some role in the selection of the appropriate drug, and the seizure was therefore correct. Number two is that the definition mattered a little bit in this case. It was important on what was the role of the device in selecting the correct antibiotic in treating, mitigating, or curing a disease. Number three is the definition of a drug cannot be narrowed to specific products alone, as this will severely limit the important function of the Act for public health safety reasons. And number four is that an earlier study, a historical study, had revealed some public health dangers posed by the sensitivity disk, and that the Secretary found it very important for the protection of the public health to adopt the regulations requiring pre-testing. Important rule developed in this case that we might take home is that because of the breadth and necessary vagueness of these statutory limitations, the court formulated usable working definitions under the Act by examining the intended use of the product. In undertaking such a task, it is important to be careful of the liberal construction of the definitions of a drug or a device, which can override the purpose of the Act. Thank you.